We agreed, not out of desire, but because the circumstances left us with no alternative. As they arrived, just the two of them, silence enveloped me. I simply welcomed them inside, and my husband had to see it all unfold. Just a brief note, for this narrative, I aim to delve into something a bit more sinister than my usual themes, just a touch different. I trust you will find it delightful. I can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining us. Once upon a time, we set forth on a journey. We can still stop this, he murmured, as if the words were a quiet reminder to his own heart. I averted my gaze from him. My gaze was locked onto the ground, following the design in the carpet I had already cleaned twice. Anything to occupy my hands, anything to distract from the impending events. We can choose a different path. His voice rose in volume, and I let out a slow breath through my nose. Absolutely, we do. He shifted his gaze to me on the couch, his leg twitching with restless energy. The fear flickered in his gaze, a desperate quest for an alternative, any escape from this fate. We'll come up with a solution in due time. That's our way, not on this occasion. In that moment, I gazed at him deeply, truly seeing him, the man I chose to share my life with, the one who once enveloped me in a sense of security, now sits next to me, gripped by fear of the unknown that lies ahead. You just don't get it, I said. The hourglass has run out of sand. Financial support is essential for us. This is the sole path before us. The words lingered with a sharpness, despite the familiarity of our countless discussions. This wasn't my desire. Oh, how I wish things were different. Yet, our desires and our necessities had diverged. He shook his head, his hand clutching his knee, as if it could tether him to a tangible reality. It's hard to fathom that we're really going through with this, he murmured. I can't either. I closed my eyes tightly. My throat was constricted, as if a tale was waiting to be told. I was far from calm. I was keeping it inside. Do you really believe this is what I desire? I inquired. As I reached the final word, my voice faltered, breaking slightly. The mere idea fills me with dread. In the stillness of the room, an unspoken tension lingered, waiting for a voice to break the silence. It was as if the very walls were pausing, caught in a moment of anticipation. My heart raced in my neck, as if it were desperate to escape. He leaned in, resting his elbows on his knees, his gaze fixed on the floor, lost in thought. I will remain here. I won't let you face them by yourself. I understand. If you choose to pause, we shall continue on. He raised his gaze. His lips were slightly parted, as if a tale of disagreement was on the verge of unfolding. Yet silence lingered in the air, as if all tales had been told. With a flutter of nerves, I carefully adjusted the front of my dress. My skin felt like it was being pulled, as if it had a tale of its own to tell. Each moment elongated, as if we stood poised on the brink of a great tale. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. The knock resonated through the silence. I remained still, simply inhaling and exhaling. Gradually, with a sense of calm, as if I were reassuring myself that everything was all right, that I was capable of this journey, I took the lead. Behind me, I sensed my husband move, hesitantly. As I pivoted toward the hallway, I sensed his hand gently settle on my shoulder, if only for an instant, just enough to weave a connection that lingers between us. As I approached the door, each step felt like a chapter unfolding in a tale yet to be told. As I lifted the lid, their eyes were fixed on me, unblinking and full of anticipation. Once upon a time, there were two men, one tale from the past. Perhaps he is in his 50s. It exceeded my expectations in height. The other one, younger and leaner, with a sharper appearance, likely around my age or even younger. Not a single smile graced their faces, just a simple exchange, devoid of pleasantries or introductions. They entered uninvited, as if the door held no secrets. My husband trailed quietly, gently shutting the door as they entered. Silence enveloped us all. They remained focused, oblivious to their surroundings. Not a single word was spoken. A small black bag was placed gently near the wall by one of them. I never inquired about its contents. I had no reason to. Text. I pointed in that direction. My voice remained steady. I chose not to allow it. I guided them through the corridor. The sound of their footsteps echoed behind me, heavy with intent, measured and intentional. My husband lingered nearby, his steps in sync with my own. As we approached the bedroom door, I took a moment to linger, caught in the anticipation of what lay beyond. With a gentle nudge, I opened the door and crossed the threshold. The ambiance was dim. The bed was neatly arranged, each corner tucked in just right. The sheets lay back, as if they had been set aside for yet another chapter in a familiar tale. The sound of the door clicking shut behind us echoed in the silence. He stayed right where he was. My husband settled into the armchair in the corner, lowering himself gradually, his hands resting on his knees, eyes fixed forward. I averted my gaze from him. Instead, I knelt down and carefully removed my shoes, placing them gently beside the bed. My hands were calm and unwavering. From behind, a gentle whisper of fabric caught my attention. They were shedding their layers, unhurried and confident, as if this was a familiar dance for them. I found myself at the edge of the bed, posture upright, arms resting by my sides. I gazed at the wall in front of me, lost in thought. The presence of the younger one drew near before my eyes could catch sight of him. He remained silent. He lifted his hand and softly swept my hair away from my shoulder. His hand stayed, radiating warmth and familiarity, yet feeling utterly misplaced. I stood my ground. Then he leaned in and pressed his lips against mine. Technology. Calculated. A narrative unfolds. In that moment, I held back my lips from meeting his. I remained right there. I allowed it to unfold. I remained completely still. Then the elder one took a step ahead. Before I could even respond, their hands reached for me, purposeful and swift, with no hesitation. The straps of my dress fell away from my shoulders, the fabric gathering at my feet as if it had completed its purpose. I chose not to grasp it. I stood with my arms resting by my sides. This was not their tale. It wasn't centered on my experience either. It revolved around our essential requirements. The younger one drew closer, their warm breath gently caressing my skin. His hold was steady, unyielding, not seeking validation. The elder one descended, providing support from behind. His breath danced in the shadows of my unspoken thoughts. I tightened my jaw, remained motionless, pushed through and suppressed my emotions. I focused on a fissure in the wall, a dent in the trim, anything that remained still. Silence enveloped them. They kept going without hesitation. I felt detached from the moment, like a character in a play I didn't write, a role to be played. I stood my ground. I kept my eyes wide open. The younger one retreated and reclined on the bed, as if this moment had been orchestrated long before we crossed the threshold. The older one cupped my chin, directing my gaze toward him, and with a tender insistence, he led me downwards. I took a moment, not to push back, but simply to inhale deeply. Then I allowed the events to unfold. Silence reigned, with no objections to be heard. I moved as if I had been part of a grand performance all along. Then they moved me once more, hands gripping my waist, raising, spinning, and gently bringing me down. I found myself positioned above the younger one, precisely in the spot he anticipated I would occupy. My hands found their place on his chest, steadying myself in the moment, and that was the end of it. He moved under me, quick and resolute. I took a deep breath and paused. As I stood there, I sensed the presence of another, his fingers gently wrapping around the nape of my neck. The other leaned in, providing support once more. I remained silent, offering no resistance. One shifted beneath me, while the other maintained his grip, without a word of inquiry, and I was devoid of sensation. Not at this moment. Continue to draw in the air. Let the imagination flow. Hold your response. Then a further transformation. They shifted my position and laid me on my back. With a sense of anticipation, the elder bent forward, and the younger soon mirrored the action, lingering just above. There was only motion, a cycle without a beat, an endless loop. My head swayed with the rhythm. My fingers tightened around the material below me. Yet, I maintained a composed expression. Yet within, a change was beginning to unfold. It slinked in quietly. The pressure, the weight I attempted to ignore. I shifted my gaze. My husband lingered in the corner, a constant presence, yet somehow far away. I shut my eyes, inhaled deeply, and so the journey continued as they relocated me once more. At that moment, I found myself on all fours. The younger one reclined against the pillows, a world of imagination swirling in their mind. The elder shifted my position from behind. They were moving independently, each following their own impulses. With a firm grip, they kept me balanced, one leading the way, the other steering my path. All options had vanished, leaving no room for choice. They advanced with determination, drawing nearer, perfectly attuned to one another. My elbows lost their grip. My breath caught in my throat. I found myself coming apart at the seams. I fought to remain composed, to keep my body motionless, to suppress the emotions swirling within me. Just a fleeting moment, if only I could grasp it, but it slipped away. I broke apart. I found myself quaking with unease. They continued to advance, encircling me, devouring what little remained of my past. Their rhythm remained steady, as if nothing had shattered within me. My arms felt like they were made of feathers. My breath came in quick, fleeting gasps. As I raised my gaze, there he was, my husband, seated in the chair, present and enduring. Yet his gaze was elsewhere. He gazed down at the ground, his face devoid of emotion, lips slightly parted, and his hands resting loosely on his knees. He was still here, in a way that transcended mere presence, yet there was a shift within him, not away from the space, but away from me. I turned my gaze, yet they remained fixed in place. They made changes to my position in silence. A man stepped back, his movement deliberate and thoughtful. The other shifted beneath me, hands directing me into position as if it were a familiar dance, a routine we had both mastered long ago. I found myself positioned over the younger one, my legs trembling beneath me. My legs quaked, haunted by the echoes of what had just slipped away. I made an effort to find my balance, to calm my breath, to regain my composure, yet I sensed the presence approaching from behind, intentional, unwavering. His hands descended gently, leading me with deliberate force until I sensed it, piercing, commanding, unforeseen. My breath caught in my throat. My hands found their way to the younger man's chest, a natural attempt to find equilibrium, yet he continued without hesitation. He moved with intention, the tension in the room growing thicker, the force arching my spine, drawing a quick gasp from my lips, prying them open wide. Yet I remained silent. Not at this moment. I clenched my jaw, tightened every muscle I could muster, attempted to fade into silence, but they wouldn't allow it. The younger one took the initiative, starting gently, then gaining strength with each movement. His hands gripped my hips, guiding me in sync with his rhythm. The presence behind me lingered, hidden yet palpable, swirling softly, intensifying the strain until I felt as though I were being torn apart. I clenched my jaw, pressed my fingers into the fabric of the chest below, fought to maintain my composure, yet it was clear they were indifferent. I found myself caught in a dance, pulled by one beat while being extended by another. The rhythm quickened. My skin felt the searing heat. My breath faltered. A force tugged at me, drawing me back to a place I had no desire to revisit. And then it unfolded. Unexpected, unforgiving, uninvited. Emotion surfaced before I could contain it. Vibrant, Authentic. I covered my mouth in shock, but the moment had already passed. They listened, and they responded. Their rhythm quickened. As the tension mounted, their hold became more resolute. Their bodies bore down with increasing intensity. I attempted to maintain my composure, to keep quiet, to withstand the mounting pressure, yet I found myself coming apart at the seams. A new wave engulfed me, more intense this time, sinking deeper. I was bursting at the seams. My spine curved gracefully. My head hung low. My voice emerged, raw and jagged, heavy with remorse, and as I blinked awake, the chair stood vacant. He slipped away quietly, and I didn't even realize he was gone. I had become ensnared in it, overwhelmed, lost in the depths of that reality. It broke apart a piece of me that I hadn't even shielded. They urged me to move on quickly. Once more, I found myself turned, elevated, then gently lowered, my back resting against the mattress. One of them positioned himself between my legs, acting swiftly and without hesitation. The other drew closer, one hand gently placed at my throat, while the other directed my gaze toward him. I was powerless to prevent it. I couldn't even bring it to a halt. They moved together with precision, familiarity, and confidence. I attempted to remain silent once more, yet the noises broke free, demanding to be heard. Gasping breaths, quick exhalations, a fractured sound that felt foreign to me. I pressed my lips together, biting down with greater intensity. Hold back on giving them additional things. Ensure it doesn't come back up. Keep it hidden. Let them remain unaware of its impact on you. Yet, each time I withdrew, they demanded even more in return. The one above stood resolutely. The one below surged with intensity, relentless and swift. My hands clenched the fabric tightly. My head tossed and turned on the pillow. Wait a moment, wait a moment, wait a moment. Yet, I shattered. The impact surged over me like a torrent, fierce, relentless, undeniable. My form curved gracefully. My throat expanded, ready to share what lay within. The noise that escaped me was raw and instinctual, and then a hush fell over the scene. I fell to the ground, utterly spent, gasping for air. I couldn't recall the ascent, just that I was abruptly airborne, cradled between them, my body swaying in harmony with theirs, limbs relaxed, one positioned behind, one underneath, unwavering, complete. I had exhausted every ounce of strength within me. They moved forward with unwavering determination. The burden, the force, the manner in which they seized it all. It revealed my innermost self. I remained still. I broke apart. As my voice faded once more, I sensed the final remnants of my strength slipping away alongside it. The one behind clenched tighter, their breath warm against my ear. He wrapped me in an embrace that felt more symbolic than real and let out a deep, resonant sound. And so, they released their grip. I collapsed onto the bed, exposed, trembling, and empty. I remained still. I was unable to do that. My chest lifted softly, a gentle rise, then another, delicate and hollow. And as the final warmth faded from my skin, a wave of shame settled in its stead. It arrived swiftly, piercingly, completely. In quietude, they adorned themselves. The door swung open and then shut, leaving me standing there, not merely vacant, but filled with a deep sense of shame for all that I had offered. And so, we reached the conclusion of our tale. This one had a bit of a shadowy twist, a departure from my usual offerings. I would be genuinely interested in hearing your perspective. Was it successful for you? Was it too distant? Share your thoughts and let me hear your tale. Your thoughts carry great significance. If you found it enjoyable, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more captivating content. Grateful for your presence. It truly holds immense significance.